You gotta try these rice noodles with beef and asparagus. Let's go. Okay, for this recipe, I used 2 different kinds of beef. I used Force of Nature's ground bison. I like the most because it has the least amount of fat, but great bison flavor. 1 package of this was 14 ounces. Then I mixed that in with some lean ground turkey. This is 95% lean. This was 16 ounces. I wanted to cook this with the bison, so I get that nice flavor of the bison, leanness of the turkey, so get a little bit more protein out of it and a little less fat. By no means do you have to use 2 different meats for this. You can just use 1 type if that's easier. But let me show you a trick that I do before I start cooking so that I can decide how many servings are gonna be in my beef dish and how we're gonna divide out that servings for equal portion sizes after we're done. So if you've watched my videos before, you should be very familiar with how to make a recipe in the MyFitnessPal. You create a recipe and then you add the ingredients manually. You can type them in or you can scan barcodes. When you scan your meat in, or anything for that matter, it's gonna automatically have it to only 1 serving size. Make sure you edit this to put that entire package in there. So that lean ground turkey was 16 ounces. If I keep it as is and do 1 serving, I'm not going to be accurate. So make sure you change serving size to 4 to equal 16 ounces for the whole package. Next, watch when I scan in the bison. If you remember, the bison, it was actually a 14-ounce package, which is kind of consistent from the 16-ounce or 1-pound packages we typically see. Not a big deal though. We can change the serving size to 1 ounce and then type in the number of servings of 14. This will reflect the whole package that you put in there. It's going to be pretty easy because I'm just doing the recipe for only the beef. I'm going to add the rest of the ingredients manually. Look, whenever you get to this screen, always look at the serving size and the calories, the fat, protein, and carb. Decide if that's going to hit your macronutrient profile. The 4 was a little bit high in protein. When I changed the serving size to 5, 6 grams of fat, but 39 grams of protein, I was pretty happy with that. So this whole batch is going to make 5 servings. And then keep watching. I'm going to do like I do in other videos where I show you how to split your batch into equal serving sizes. You're going to start by prepping 2 things at the same time. Starting with a large nonstick skillet with some low-calorie spray. At the same time, you want to start getting a big pot of water to boil. It's going to take a while to get the water to boil. You want it to be ready in time by the time your beef is almost done. With your skillet on medium-high heat, place both the turkey and the bison in. Then start breaking it apart with a spatula or wooden spoon, evenly mixing it throughout the skillet. Stir occasionally until it's cooked through. It should take about 10 to 12 minutes to be cooked through thoroughly. Now let's talk about the rice noodle. There's literally so many different brands you can use. This is an Asian vegetable ramen that I got from Whole Foods. This is another pretty popular brand I like, Lotus Foods, and I'm pretty sure they have a gluten-free option. All in all, no matter which rice ramen that you choose, all going to be relatively the same in terms of their calorie and their carbohydrate profile. For the macros in this recipe specifically, I'm using this one, which I really like because I didn't have to boil a pot of water to prep it. So for those of you that are on a time crunch, this is a really good option. Don't be alarmed by the amount of sodium in this thing. Sodium in all of these are coming from the seasoning pack, which we are not going to use. So yes, when you log it on MyFitnessPal, it's going to show that you ate all that sodium. If you throw out the seasoning packet like I'm telling you to do, you don't have to worry about it. So again, this is what I loved about this because I have this really quick water boiler and I just poured it directly in and then I let it seep for 4 minutes. You choose a different brand. Cook your rice noodles or your ramen according to the package instructions. By now, your beef should be almost done and your water should just about be boiled. It's time to prep the asparagus. Watch how I do it here. You'll never use a knife or cutting board again. At the end of the asparagus that nobody eats, all you're gonna do is break it apart and then discard of that. And then we're just going to keep breaking the asparagus apart until we get the desired length of the stems that we want, and then set aside. Now you're going to transfer this over to your boiling water and then cover it with a lid, and you're only going to have to boil this for 4 minutes. So make sure you look at your timer. Now we're ready to divide out our protein serving. If you've seen me make other videos, you know exactly what I'm about to do. For those of you it's their first time, place an empty container on your food scale and you're going to zero that out. Then you're going to add your entire batch recipe to the bowl. Make sure you scrape the ends, get it all in there. Now you can see I have 611 grams is the total weight of the recipe. Doing it in grams is going to make it very easy to divide out. So now you're just going to take that number, 611. If you recall from earlier, we decided that this was going to make 5 servings, so I divide that number by 5. Now we have the amount of grams we need to measure out in each serving. Now that we got that out of the way, let's drain our asparagus. If you cooked it correctly, the asparagus should be flexible, a little bit of crunch to them. Now back to finishing up our bowl. I have my cooked rice noodles. I'm going to place it on my food scale. Zero it out and put it in grams. You recall from earlier, we found that 1 serving size was going to be 122 grams, so we're just going to weigh that out. If you make several batches at once, it's going to be pretty easy to weigh out and make sure that everything is accurate. All right, now for the homemade sauce. First, we're going to start off with tahini. Now, this is pretty high in calories. We're only going to be using a half of a tablespoon, so make sure you measure that shit out. Then we're going to use a whole tablespoon of rice vinegar and some light tamari sauce, otherwise known as soy sauce. Use a lower sodium version, or liquid or coconut aminos work well too. Then we're going to use a teaspoon of sriracha sauce or chili sauce. You can use more if you like it spicy. Last, we're going to top this off with 2 tablespoons of green onions or scallions. And I like to stir this up really well before I top it with the asparagus. Top it off with 2 ounces of your steamed asparagus. And if you look here is how I logged it in MyFitnessPal. Easily log the brand of rice noodle you did, and then your stir-fry beef that you added as a recipe, as well as the sauces and toppings. All right, that's it. I hope you guys enjoyed this one. I made this one in several batches and had it ready to go for the week.